Hey everybody, I'm Coach Fury, the owner of Fury Industries and the Coach Fury podcast, and I'm also a DVRT Master Instructor. And I just taught two certs, a level 1 and level 2 out in normal mass at MSc Strength and Conditioning. Hey everybody. And I wanted to create a video which is a little bit of a longer form dive into just what is DVRT, why do we use the ultimate sandbag, and how do I approach this? Because one of the common questions were, there's a lot of factors within the context of the certification or the course to take in mind, but there's also the stuff we see on social media where it's hard to put the pieces together, where even in the cert, maybe it goes there. So I wanted to create a video for whoever this might be helpful for to explain and simplify, because it is a deep system and it can be viewed as complex, but if you look at it at the why behind it and the how approach, it actually demystifies it a lot, because I'm not that bright, so if I got a handle on it, I can help you with it too. So, one of the things I want to start out for right now is DVRT, what does it mean? Dynamic variable resistance training. Yeah? Just rolls off the tongue. What that means is we're going to look at movement and training with an unstable implement. The other side of that, and the implement would be the ultimate sandbag for the most part, not the only one. This can be applied across the board. The other aspect of this is how are we going to use levels of instability, whether it's within the plane of motion, the sandbag itself, the holding position, how we're holding the sandbag, or the body position, how we're positioned. So in terms of planes of motion, just because it took me a while to wrap my head around this is the sagittal plane, right? This is where most of us start out. Whether you're into kettlebells, barbells, or even DVRT, most of us start with a hinge. I keep a nice static core, maintain a neutral spine, pull to the floor, drive the floor down, and come on up. That forward and back, this is sagittal plane. Deadlifts are great because they tell us how to maintain a neutral posture, drive through the floor as opposed to pulling up with our backs. And it's just a great starter point to begin to really own the hinge movement. But we got to remember, the goal is to own the hinge movement. The goal isn't just to deadlift. So traditionally, whether it's kettlebells, barbells, whatever, we just focus on adding load or adding reps to your hinge. In DVRT, we're going to do that differently. So if I want to progress this, the next stage we go to would be a front hold. I'm going to change the holding position. So someone's been proficient in the sagittal plane, and then I can challenge that here. Boom. Same movement pattern, different holding position. Now, that's still very much so sagittal plane. Before we go willy-nilly crazy into frontal plane, which is left or right, or transverse training, rotational training, we have to start building extra challenges that people can build resistance to those planes of motion, so that when we do put them in it, they're safe, right? They've got a baseline to set themselves up for success. So, what I mean by that is this. So, if I want to challenge the hinge, or my deadlift, add a little more instability, I'm going to change my body position now into what we call a sprinter stance. Heel toe, heel stays off the ground. I'm going to deadlift just like I would with 2 feet, except it's about a 60-40 split, and I am now fighting the urge to sway into the frontal plane. So I have some frontal plane resistance happening. Boom. So as we progress with that, I'm building the quality of ownership in this plane, not going into it just yet. If I want to take that a step further, I can do a rear step deadlift, where I step further back and drive through. So now, not only am I resisting that lateral sway as I step, because I'm taking a big step, because of the dimension and the feedback of the sand and the dimension of the bag itself, the ultimate sandbag, I'm starting to have some anti-rotational sway that I got to fight in that. So I have transverse plane resistance as a secondary with frontal plane resistance as a primary. Think about simply how that is. Before I'm moving in a different movement pattern, I'm just challenging the person's stability and ownership in small increments, so that when the time comes to do a lateral deadlift, keeping those hips stable, they've already created a baseline, right? So if we look from a movement pattern, that's how we're doing it. We don't just go, here's your deadlift, here's your lateral. When we go to add rotational, there are other exercises that we can do to build. And I don't mean just drills to get them there. I mean literally exercises we program, we spend time with, we build proficiency in and competency in, yeah? So a rotational deadlift, say I've been working in that plane, I've gotten frontal plane hinges down. Now, I can keep that nice neutral spine, and I'm still hinging, still neutral spine, pivoting on one foot and coming back. Those aren't the only steps, but those are some big rock examples of how we start with the movement, we add some levels of instability, whether it's, again, the holding position, the implement itself, or the body position, and then we can move into one plane, and then we can start to move into the rotational plane, which is generally viewed as like the scary plane, right? It's only scary if we haven't taken the time to build someone towards it. Because let's face it, all of us want to say functional fitness for the most part, for lack of a better phrase, functional fitness. Developing and just getting stronger in that movement pattern or this, in just this plane of motion, there's nothing we do as parents, as athletes, as hobbyists that keep us there, unless it's more lifting, quite frankly. Even walking or running, it's multiplanar. So I hope that simplifies some things, just in terms of where we're coming with the DVRT approach. Now, if you want to have a heavy deadlift, go for it, but add these other things in, because if you can create some more frontal or transverse plane resistance in your other movements with an ultimate sandbag, that renewed stability, that strength and stability, is going to allow you to lift heavier when you do have both feet planted and want to grab the bar. So I hope that makes sense, just to simplify this idea of the process. When you have those big rocks, it really does start to make sense how you program it. And it doesn't have to be just suddenly you throw out all your kettlebells or you throw out all your bumper plates and you're just using an ultimate sandbag. But I guarantee you the lens of the system, the progressions, regressions of the system, and this beautiful implement will make all your training with those other things even better. So if you have any questions, and again, thank you for sitting through all of this. Usually in social media land, we're trying to do really quick things. I just wanted to have a long conversation with you. If you have any questions, leave them below. If you're on YouTube or on Facebook, the Book of Faces, or on my website, leave them there, and let's have a chat about it. Again, it's how we build movement as opposed to just getting better at exercises. That's probably the biggest thing that I've gotten out of DVRT, because I wouldn't be the coach I am without it. So I hope that helps a lot, and I talk a lot, you've heard my voice a lot, and I'm still talking. Goodbye.